Hello, everyone. Good to see you. Not to, good to be together again. It's a beautiful. It's always beautiful to be together, and it's a blessing to meet you. I have six people already uh, with us. If you want to send some comments, we will let us know that you are here with us. I know that I already spoke to Grog is here also with us. Let's see if Grog is there. Hi, Grog.
I'm here, yes. Hi. Hello, everybody.
Good. Dav is also just see if he's there. Hi, David.
Hello.
Hi, David.
Hello, Rob.
We also have who else? Oh, Annie. Oh, Annie. Good evening, Annie. Yeah, good evening. It was good to hear your experience, Annie, you had with your the good news. Thank you for letting us know. God bless you. Amen. So, guys, I'm going to leave you, Carol. Oh, hi, Carol. Carol and Gary. God bless. So, as people are coming in, just give a few minutes more. Grog, Davi, and I'm going to share just one or two songs as people are grabbing their cup of tea and coming close. All right?
Okay.
Good, guys. I'm glad you are here with us. We have a group of Brazilians, which we have last week. My friends, worship leaders, me, Davi, Deco, Lucas, and few other friends. We have done some videos, and I wanna. It's in Portuguese, but I put the lyrics in English. I put the translation in English, so you can just follow us. We really enjoy that. It's a beautiful song. We used to sing in Brazil. That song's well-known song. So I hope you enjoy that video. All right. So we're just going to watch this video. I know some people are coming in, and meanwhile we watch this video here. It's in Portuguese, but I will bring the translation. Watch. It's that.
Sobre Deus, pensam que Deus é energia ou a natureza. Pensam que Deus só acorda na festa da Páscoa ou Natal.
E que está mais preocupado em celebrar algum ritual.
Eu sou um Deus distante, impossível de ser tocado,
Com quem não se pode conversar, a quem não se pode amar.
Deus de braços cruzados,
um Deus ultrapassado. Mas Deus não é assim, Deus é amor.
Descobri que Deus está tão preocupado com o meu viver,
que até mesmo mandou seu filho vir por mim morrer,
pra me livrar daquilo que me fazia infeliz. E acreditar em Jesus foi a única coisa que eu fiz.
Acreditar em seu amor, acreditar em seu perdão e receber por fé a salvação.
Daí em diante gozar da amizade de Deus, que é meu companheiro a cada dia,
Que
Amen. That's good, isn't it? I hope you enjoy it. Yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful music. We have Graham with us. Hi, Hillary and Graham. Yeah, and the Cavalcantes also. It's good. Anyway, Grog, are you there?
Oh, I am here.
Good. Is it a cup of tea ready?
I've drunk it already. It's all gone.
So, shall we watch the video now, Grog?
Yeah, sure.
So it's a 10 minutes video. It's about the woman. Do you want to give a short general? It's about the woman who was.
It's about the Greek or Syrophoenician woman in Syria who wanted her daughter to be freed from her oppression by demons. And I heard a preach about this many, many years ago. And the preacher said that the woman changed Jesus' mind. Jesus didn't want to help her, but then the woman changed her mind. I thought, that doesn't sound right. That doesn't feel like Jesus. So I did this study a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then last week I felt God said, go back and look at it again. So I was looking at it, and Pete said he wanted a short talk. So I thought, well, I'm working on that. So I did it.
No, very good. I enjoy so much. I know that will be 10 minutes video. Peter says that the Portuguese version will be ready soon. I know Peter is trying hard for the Portuguese version. But let's watch the video together. And I made some notes here. Davi also will bring some comments with us. Just going to talk. Grog, thank you beforehand for all your effort. All right?
Okay, you're welcome.
Let's watch. There you are. It's here.
My talk today follows a trail of crumbs that starts in Syria, where a Gentile woman in Matthew 15:27 says to Jesus, "Even the dogs feed on the crumbs which fall from their master's table." But what was Jesus doing in Syria, talking to a Gentile woman? Matthew 15:21 tells us Jesus withdrew to Tyre, which is by the Mediterranean Sea. Withdrew implies he was on a break. Has Jesus gone on holiday with the lads to the seaside? It initially looks that way. The account in Mark 7:24 feels similar and adds that Jesus could not escape notice. Wherever Jesus goes, his work manages to track him down. His fame gives him away. In Matthew's account, Jesus is spotted by a Canaanite woman who wants Jesus to heal her daughter, but he doesn't respond. The disciples want her sent away because she keeps shouting. But Jesus answered and said, "I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel." There seems to be a kind of "don't disturb me on my day off" feel in this passage. Jesus at first ignores the woman, then appears to declare to his disciples that her problems are none of his business. This is odd behavior for Jesus. He does not interact with the woman, and his words seem out of character. Was Jesus only sent to the Jews, as he says? The healing of the centurion's servant is before this in chapter 8. Elsewhere, we have the Samaritan woman by the well. Also, from Luke 6:17, we know that people from Tyre came to hear Jesus. The fact that they recognized Jesus in Tyre, and the woman had an expectation that he could and would heal her daughter, makes me question if this statement is what it initially appears to be. The original Greek text is not quite as clear as saying Jesus was only sent to the lost sheep of Israel, translating literally as, I was not sent, if not to the lost sheep of Israel. They both may technically mean the same, but they feel different. Only is definite. The original leaves you wondering, what is Jesus going on about? It could easily be a question rather than a statement. The disciples saying, send her away, but Jesus asking, was I only sent to the lost sheep of Israel? In Greek, the difference between a statement and a question can be down just to intonation. Jesus' intentions are to make people consider their current thinking. But to change people's minds, they first have to question their current understanding, and people don't like change. Everyone believes that they are right, and others are not quite as right as they are. How often do the Pharisees think Jesus is talking nonsense, and they do not understand or accept what he's saying? Back to our Gentile woman. Shouting from a distance had no effect, but she must have felt there was still hope, that Jesus hadn't closed the door on her, because she came and began to bow down before him, saying, Lord, help me. And he answered and said, it is not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs. That's a bit rude, isn't it? Why did the disciples record this event? It doesn't seem to show anyone in a particularly good light. The disciples heading for the beach, bucket and spade in hand, don't want to help a woman in need, and Jesus seemingly saying he won't help her because she's not a Jew. And then he appears to call the woman and her troubled daughter dogs. Perhaps it's a cultural misunderstanding. Are dogs that bad? We read in Revelation 22:15, outside are the dogs and the sorcerers and the immoral persons and the murderers and the adulterers and everyone who loves and practices lying. So yes, dogs were that bad. Dogs were excluded from entering and linked to a lot of desirables to boot. This seems to reinforce Jesus saying, I was sent only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. In which case, either the woman is extremely obstinate or something in what Jesus has said has given her hope, because Matthew records her for the third time asking for Jesus' help. But, she said, yes, Lord, but even the dogs feed on the crumbs which fall from their master's table. Is she stubborn, or has she heard something we haven't? What are the dogs doing under the table? To us, this doesn't seem odd, as we are familiar with pet dogs in the house. But to them, from Revelation 22, we see the social expectation is that dogs are kept outside. This seems an odd response from the woman. But if we look into it, most references to dogs in the New Testament are to Kion, the outside dog we find in Revelation. But uniquely to this story, in both Matthew and Mark's accounts, the Greek word used is not Kion, it is Kynerion, which means small dog. Jesus uses this word in his initial statement, and the woman picks it up in her reply. Now, I don't know if small dog refers to a house pet or a puppy, but it's in the house. I think Jesus is blurring the lines between who is in and who is out. The small dogs have come into the house and are under the table eating the crumbs. Then Jesus said to her, O woman, your faith is great. It shall be done for you as you wish. The Gentiles have entered the building. That's us. We were not let in because we shouted from a distance, nor because we came close and bowed down. It was not because of the physical external actions. It was because our hearts were changed. Jesus ignored the woman's shouts for help, but when she bowed down, he gave her a clue with the small dog comment. But it was not until she put herself into the house, albeit under the table, that Jesus freed her daughter from her oppression. In both Matthew and Mark's accounts, the preceding passage is about the Pharisees and teachers of the law coming all the way from Jerusalem to Galilee to hear Jesus' teaching. And all they managed to learn from Jesus is that his disciples don't correctly wash their hands before eating. Jesus turns this round on the Pharisees. It is not what goes in that makes you unclean, it's what comes out of you. They are excluded because they did not take in Jesus' words. They were too busy highlighting the faulty ritual actions of others. Our Gentile woman, who was previously left out, has come into the house. The subtle change from the excluded outside dog to the small dog that has come in and is under the table shows Jesus used clues to lead the Gentile woman into his kingdom. Now, Jesus saying, "I was not sent, if not to the lost sheep of Israel," feels less like a statement and more like a question. Jesus uses the opportunity to explain to his disciples that it is not ritual and external actions that make you clean or unclean. It is not your race or your gender that defines whether you are in or out. It is if you have come into the house and are being fed from the table. We have a clue to what Jesus meant in Matthew 16, 9-11, where he says, "Do you not yet understand or remember the 5 loaves of the 5,000 and how many baskets full you picked up? Or the 7 loaves of the 4,000 and how many large baskets full you picked up? How is it that you do not understand that I did not speak to you concerning bread?" In this warning about the religious teaching of the Jews, the crumbs are a metaphor. In the feeding of the 5,000 in Matthew 14, just before this passage we're looking at, where 12 baskets of crumbs were collected, 12 represents Israel through the 12 tribes. And in the feeding of the 4,000 in Matthew 15, just after our passage, where 7 baskets of crumbs were collected, 7 signifies completeness, which represents everyone, Jews and Gentiles. Among the 4,000 crowd, there must have been many Gentiles, as Matthew 15:31 tells us. They glorified the God of Israel, meaning it was not their gods that they were praising. We are sitting right in the middle of these two events. Those crumbs are to feed us who come after. We are the Gentiles' daughters, freed from oppression. Jesus came first to feed Israel, the 12, then everyone, the 7. Jesus is not on a beach holiday. He is on a team-building activity to train the disciples that the new covenant that has come is open to all, even Syrian Gentile women. We did not receive salvation when we shouted from a distance, nor when we bowed down in the street, or even by washing our hands correctly. We were fed when we entered into the house. As a Gentile, the trail of crumbs I have been following has led me into the Father's house, even if it's only as a small dog under the table. I am still being fed from those 7 baskets of crumbs gathered up from the feeding of the 4,000. Jesus was training his disciples to understand all those with right hearts are welcome in the kingdom, even those the disciples' culture said were not worth noticing, like the woman, or excluded dogs, like the Gentiles. All get crumbs from the table. All who come in are welcome in the kingdom. Even though we come in like small dogs, we end up adopted as sons, and that is the good news.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My microphone was muted.
Okay.
Sorry. No, I was just saying, beautiful. How there's so many. Perhaps we can unpack some of the things said here, because I know it was a short version, but I was just thinking, Greg. I said to Greg before, I like it when he said Jesus gives clue that leads people to him, to his kingdom, and everyone he's teaching his disciples that everyone who comes will be accepted by the Lord. It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was today talking to my sister. Odav is here. I was talking to my sister, and I said to my sister, Deborah, I was meditating in your word today, Greg. A unique experience that woman had of I wrote here, not by shouting, not by bowing in the streets, but entering the house. And when she put herself under the table, under the position of being that one, I was talking to my sister, saying, my sister, there's a unique experience of seeing yourself as accepted as a son and daughter. This will change everything, because she was talking to me, asking for some advice. I said, you will choose things in your life. You have to choose things, but all of us have to go through this unique experience that woman had of putting herself under the table, under the house, inside of the house.
Yeah.
This is beautiful, Greg.
Yeah. Yeah, there's, I think from the disciples' point of view, for them, the women were not important, and also the Gentiles were not important. So I was trying to get what Jesus was feeling, and why does this woman keep coming? And I think Jesus must have been looking at her saying, come on, keep going, rather than sort of, because when it says he ignored her, he didn't talk to her. You just kind of think that is not like most of what Jesus does. His actions, you think there must be more that we're not seeing. There must be something in his actions that he is encouraging this woman to keep coming back and saying, like the clue, the small dog. And when I was looking at it and I saw it was a small dog, I thought, that's really interesting. Nowhere else in the New Testament do you find this small dog word. And I thought, what is it that there's a change that he's bringing her in? And
It's interesting. Sorry.
Yeah.
No, go on. I was just to say that this some of these clues are cultural sometimes.
Yeah.
He gives even I'm thinking about nowadays in different culture. He gives clues that we probably might feel offended, but culturally, people know, God knows how people are going to respond to that particular clue.
Yeah, I'd not seen this before, but I think it's in other parables I've looked at. Jesus, I think, does a lot of clues and hints. Like if you look at the parable of the 99 sheep he left abandoned in the wilderness, you think that's madness. What's he going on about? It's a lot of stuff he says doesn't make sense, but you think he must have been communicating where perhaps he's laughing when he's saying it, so they know it's ridiculous, it's a joke. But we have just the words, and it's so difficult to know what was going on just from what the disciples say. I put in my original talk, it would have been nice if Matthew had put a YouTube clip up of what Jesus was doing, so we could kind of see his face and hear what he was saying in his voice, that we would get much more out of it.
Yes, definitely. I said, even when I was listening to you again, every time I was listening to you, probably I heard your speech, the video today 4 or 5 times. I was writing a particular phrase which was being highlighted to me. Now again, I wrote, whatever Jesus says, whatever he does, will always bring hope. Always. Even when we don't understand what I do now, you don't understand, but later you understand. It will bring hope somehow.
This, what I put in my longer version also, was before this, a lot of scribes and Pharisees had come to talk to Jesus, and they've come all the way from Jerusalem to talk to him, and the only thing they can do is complain that the disciples don't wash their hands properly. And you think, if you've gone all the way, you're going to listen, you're going to hear what Jesus says. But I think this is Jesus adding on to this. It's not about the Pharisees are so worried about their rituals and stuff, that Jesus is saying to disciples, look, don't worry about the rituals of the Pharisees. Look at this woman, her heart. is for the healing of her daughter. And also, I suddenly thought, we are the Gentiles. We are her daughter. We are her offspring. And I
Correct.
thought, crumbs, these are the crumbs that we're eating. And that's what led me on to the 4,000. That sort of like those baskets of crumbs that Jesus gathered up, we're still eating those today. And that was a bit of a revelation to me, that as I was writing it, I suddenly saw this and I thought, oh, I'd never seen this before. I'd never seen how it all ties together. And it was just
Very
Yeah.
interesting. Davi?
Yeah, I mean, I was sorry. The StreamYard always crashes my Mac, and I was worried about my dissertation that I'm writing. I'm seeing if it's coming back up, which is why I disappeared for a bit. When I was listening to the message, Grob, I mean, this is a passage that I admittedly have always struggled with for the reasons that you said at the beginning. You know, it seems like as if this is contrary to Jesus's nature at first. And to be honest, if I'm completely honest, I've probably chosen not to engage too much with the passage because of that sort of stress. You know, when you read it off face value, you think this is a bit complicated. I don't really want to go into this.
Yeah.
So you know what you were saying was really good and really clarifying. If I'm honest, but I was thinking, even sort of tying into what you were just saying now about the breadcrumbs, and the I was just thinking that so towards the connection with the end, are you sort of saying that, which you did say, that we're like small dogs who eat crumbs, but my thought was sort of what specifically is the crumbs? You know, is it the message? Is it the kingdom? Is it, you know, I got the point what you were saying, but it wasn't sort of, you know, what is this? What are the leftovers? You know, because crumbs are just sort of mere leftovers. They're not even leftovers, are they? They're just sort of sprinkles of, you know, of. Yeah.
I think we come in as humbly. We come in. We don't sort of come in shouting and saying we demand our work to come into the kingdom. I think we have to come in humbly and say we're just dogs under the table. And that's why I said at the end, very suddenly, that we're adopted as sons, that we're lifted up, that we come in humbly, and those crumbs are all we seek out. And you see in other places in the Bible as well that sort of God just wants humility in people. That we sort of trying to think of the verse.
I wrote this. I wrote the verse which says, God resists James 4:6. He resists the
proud,
but gives grace to the humble. I was one of the times I was also reading or listening to the video. This verse came to my mind. If my people humble, called by myself, humble, God, as if God is always expecting that attitude in our hearts of, I don't deserve. Come on, Pa. If I can eat just the crumbles that comes from out of the table of my master. I think it's more to do with attitude, correct? Yeah, I think so too.
So, Grog, would you say that it's, you know, for me, I was thinking, you know, it's probably necessary to, or would you say that it's necessary to reinforce or understand that when we apply this to ourselves, it can only be a mere metaphor of humility, of, you know, what you're saying, because in our Western mindsets, in our cultures, then it's very hard to not think of this in a way that is derogatory or is sort of less than, which I think I understand. I think we should, you know, not be, I deserve a seat at the table, because I don't think that we do. But, you know, to see in a Western mindset, as you said in the video, to see yourself as a small dog only merely eating crumbs, is to see yourself, right at the bottom of the barrel. But my point is to sort of, would you say it is necessary to really sort of understand that this is merely a metaphor, that we are, as you were saying, just sort of, we don't earn ourselves in, we don't earn our way in, but
we sort of come in, we have nothing we can give God. We are completely at his mercy, and we come in just by grace, we are saved. There's nothing we can do. We are the lowest of the low. He brings us in, and then we have our adoption and lifting up afterwards. That I think it's because the whole passage is about the Gentiles who are not looked on well by the Jews being brought into the kingdom. It's sort of like, these are the dogs that the Jews didn't want to know about.
Correct.
Jesus said, I'm bringing them in. So it works both ways. The Jews look down on them, but they are also coming in humility. And
I think he was probably addressing the hearts of the Jews, that they saw others like dogs. They are different people, different elements. So the Jews, they are looking that way. So that's why Jesus was using that illustration also to teach to the Jews. Even if you see them the dog, I will welcome them into my kingdom.
Yeah.
Also, before this, when the Jews came to see him and listen to his teaching, they didn't listen to his heart. All they did was say, your disciples aren't washing their hands. They are very arrogant, saying, we know best, you're not following the rituals. But Jesus is saying, don't worry about them, don't listen to them. In the previous, just before this chapter. And then he goes on to sort of show the disciples, look, this is how you enter the kingdom, is through humility, not by washing your hands correctly and the rituals and all the ways of the Pharisees. So I think that the beginning of the chapter is a contrast to this bit.
I enjoy also, Grog, when you said, is it at the beginning, is it a question or a statement about when Jesus says, is it the question about am I only the lost sheep of Israel, or what's the question that he says, Gary, Grog?
It says, was I sent only to the lost sheep and I was sent only to the lost sheep of Israel.
Correct, yeah.
And I looked at it and I thought, how can I understand this? Because it didn't feel right. And I looked and the Greek, and it's how their questions are formed. They said, well, sometimes you just have to guess from the context that it's a question, that sometimes it has a little word in there. I don't know much about Greek.
But it's true. In Portuguese, it's the same, Grog. Portuguese, just to help you, in Portuguese also, just by the intonation, we can change from a statement or a question. It's depends how you read that sometimes.
Yeah, so I thought it's out of character for Jesus. It feels like he's asking a question or putting something so the disciples, and I think he was talking to the disciples at this time. So he wasn't saying to the woman, I think he was saying to the disciples, I was only sent to the lost sheep of Israel. And you kind of think, really? But there's the Samaritan woman, there's the centurions,
everybody else. Yeah.
And they were expecting, they knew him in Tyre where he was on holiday. Well, he was gone to sea. They knew him, they recognized him, they knew he would heal. And the woman had an expectation, he is going to heal my daughter. So they knew that he was working with the Gentiles. So it didn't fit. And I thought there's something that doesn't add up. What Jesus is saying does not fit with the circumstances. So I thought perhaps it's I couldn't say for certain, but it feels more like him questioning the disciples than a statement.
Yeah, what I was thinking of here is just that, she, which may have already been mentioned, I'm not too sure, but the woman is which is, well, yeah, it kind of just ties up with everything that we have been saying, but it may have been mentioned anyway, that the woman is sort of content with the crumbs only. And the disciples never seem content with so much more. You know, they constantly show fear, anxiety, worry. You know, there's many examples, you know, that I can't really think of any right now, but she is content with simply having the crumbs, you know, at the table. And you know, it's what you're saying about humility, is just being understanding that actually we don't really deserve a seat at the table. You know, we don't really deserve to eat alongside them, because those who are already in can't see, you know, what they have. You know, the Jews who were already in, they weren't valuing what was theirs, the Messiah, you know, was theirs. But yet this woman, with merely the crumbs, was satisfied. Yeah.
Which is, again, is an attitude that just bring it to our reality. So I keep on saying to the church, we have received everything. When we give our offerings, and everything we give out of first contentment. I have received everything. It's not because I am exchanging things, demanding. It's a beautiful feeling to come and say, look, I'm satisfied. I have enough. I'm being accepted to the table. As Annie just said, he invited me to, he's graciously will even invite to share. So this is amazing. So come to him with that attitude of, I have received everything. And he comes and welcome us to his private table. This is amazing. This is beautiful.
Yeah.
Grog, I was just going to, maybe we can unpack a bit more that which I felt so interesting, the connection between chapter 14 and 15. I think you did say that, but I've never thought about that before, which is right in the middle. We meet right in the middle between the 12 baskets and 7 baskets. There we are. So I guess it was beautifully on purpose left that passage in the middle.
I'd never seen that before. I thought, well, because I knew about the 7 and the 12. I knew the 12 was the disciples, was the tribes, and I knew 7 was everyone. But I thought, I wonder where these patches are. When I looked, I thought, this is right in the middle. These are, I'm literally just 2 chapters covers the whole of these events. I thought, wow, this must be connected. These crumbs in the baskets and the crumbs from the table. Jesus is connecting everything up and saying, this is what I'm feeding you. There is plenty. This is the miracles he's doing at the time. He is able to sort of like keep feeding us afterwards. Because I'd always kind of thought, why has he gathered up the crumbs? What's he going to do with them in the miracles? But then you kind of see, I see, it's just a message. It's sort of like he is feeding the people with the crumbs left over, that it's there to sort of feed our needs as well. And we are those who come after, who get fed on these crumbs from the miracles that he did at the time.
Very nice. Very nice. I think I can see now more and more the connection between, because sometimes I remember thinking about, well, why the leftover? Why he did the wrong math? So he knew exactly what that people needed, why that was left over. It's for it's for us, of course.
Yeah. But I knew the 12 and the 7 because I like numbers. I like the meaning of numbers. So I knew 12 was the tribes of Israel, and I knew 7 was everybody, but I'd never connected it all up in one sort of piece before. Never seen that it all fitted together. And more I look at things that Jesus does, and it all fits together. There is a plan behind everything. And you look at Jesus and think, where I said the preacher had said that the woman had changed Jesus' mind. I thought that didn't feel right. That sort of Jesus, he wouldn't have needed his mind changed by a human
No.
because he knew everything. And you look at it and think, no, this is all part of his message, part of his plan, that he knew what was happening. He knew that he was bringing the Gentiles into the kingdom. And it's kind of, wow, I didn't know that. And then little things like when he said all the people from Tyre and Sidon came to hear him speak. You think, okay, so the Gentiles already were listening to him. And it's sort of like they praised the God of Israel. You think, of Israel. So it's not their God. It's not their gods they're praising. They're saying, this nation's God is so great. And all little clues that sort of saying, yeah, the Gentiles are already coming in Jesus' time. It's not just, you kind of think it's just Paul went off after Jesus' crucifixion.
Yeah. No.
But the Gentiles, Jesus is bringing them in right from the start.
We were being included from the very beginning, even us.
Yeah.
It was part of his plan, including the whole world. Yeah, correct.
Yeah, we've been eating the crumbs since day one.
Since day one.
Amen.
Yeah, amen.
We've been offered the crumbs since day one. Yeah, just need to come in the house and get them.
Beautiful. I wrote also, it touched my heart, not by shouting, not by bowing in the streets, not by shouting. I thought, wow, there's so many people. Imagine people. I could see some of my friends shouting for God, but shouting, it looks beautiful, it looks nice, correct, but not by shouting. Because I think you said Jesus did not take notes of her shouting. She was shouting. Everybody can shout, but not by shouting, not by bowing, but entering in the Father's house. There is an attitude again, just going back maybe to this point, but I was just thinking, well, there's so many people shouting. They think by shouting or by doing things, they will be accepted. As probably the Pharisees, they thought, no, doing these things, I will be accepted. No, but it's not. It's much deeper and simple, but deeper. It's not necessarily by attitudes or outside things that we can. I enjoyed it, not by shouting.
I mean, we can. That stuck out to me as well, but we can apply that to sort of anything really today, especially among a more charismatic Pentecostal, way of Christianity, where even in Brazil you probably see it more often. But shouting is probably the most common way of speaking in church, and there's almost a consensus. The more you shout, the closer you get to God. The more you shout, the more you receive. The more you cry, the more He's touched you. And the more there is, theologically they would never affirm that you need to do to receive, but in the actions it's quite clear that the more you do, the more you shake up the heavens, the more and that is just completely, is a conception of the truth. I think sometimes it's just crawling on our knees to grab the crumbs, and He's there. What He's already offered us, what's already fallen, and it's all about, again, it's all tying into that humility, theme that we think we need to do more in order to deserve Him coming to us. We think that by I know a lot of people that won't say that, but if you're not singing loud enough, if he is singing louder than you, then he's got more chance to encounter God tonight.
To be heard.
And to be heard. So that's, exactly what you're saying. The shouting, it's just by coming humbly and eating what the Lord's already given us,
Amen. Correct. I agree.
When I was a young Christian, I was quite concerned that I wasn't using the right words, that it's like a magic spell, that if I pray in a certain way, use all the right words, God will answer my prayer. And it took me a long time to realize it's nothing about the words, it's about the heart. It's what's in your heart. Like saying, there's nothing I can do. I'll just come to you, God. in complete humility that I had
Amen.
nothing to offer you.
Amen.
Yeah.
I often think about Gosha. No, Gosha, you are here. You're listening to us. You see what you're saying? We are saying, Gosha, Jim, it's not by the things we do. It's not by the beautiful words or by the understanding, the knowing, the way to speak. Is the words that comes from our hearts, Gosha, Jim, Maciek. All right, our God, He sees the hearts, and we need to be content with whatever He has given to us. It's more than enough, more than we need. He has given to us.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, it's been a, just to quickly tie in a bit more to what more personally. I mean, for me, it's not exactly in sort of so clearly related to what we're talking about, but the sense of these last few years have been a journey. Really sort of that mindset have always been, in the churches that I've grown up in. I've always had this mindset where I need to pray longer, I need to sing louder, I need to do more in order for Him to hear me, in order for my prayers to be heard, in order for God to move. And I would actually say, these last 3-4 years have been sort of a really breaking down of those walls. That He is what we say a lot anyway. He is the greatest gift that He has ever poured out. His Son is the best blessing that I could ever receive, and He has already given Himself entirely to me. He's offered it to me. I've received, and there's nothing more that I can, whether it physically, spiritually, He has given Himself entirely, not just for me, but for all of humanity. And understanding that He is with me all times, independent of whether I deserve it or not. He acts independent of whether I deserve it or not. He gives because I'm a son. He doesn't give because I have worked hard enough, or because I've done enough. And so personally, it's been a real journey to just, I guess, in what we've been saying today, learn how to be content with eating the crumbs that He has already given, to me, to us. And quietly, without shouting, without, practically speaking, without shouting, without having to, although I do like to shout when I preach, but that's just that's more just me, not because I feel like it's touching God, but
Correct.
yeah.
It's not out of a feeling that you are missing something. No, you do out of your own heart because you're satisfied, exactly as you said.
Yeah.
David. I think he answers your first question, David. You said when you question is what is the crumbles? Is that's it? It's a heart that receives whatever the Lord gives and be content, and which will end up in worship, in shouts of praise. But it's not the opposite. I'm not shouting to receive. I have received, and so now I can manifest in different ways.
Yeah. It can. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Amen, Grog. Thank you. I think that's it for today. And I hope our folks, they have enjoyed. I know I have some comments here. Let's quickly say to them. Annie said, "Good evening." Marcelo, Carol said, "Graham." I already said Manuela. Very enjoyable. She was probably talking about the music. Portuguese, Grog, excellent. Gosha, good evening, everyone. Bridget also made some comments. Do we enter by eating the crumbs? Then we are invited to sit at the table. Yes, it's biblical. We've been invited to sit at the table of the Lord. Graham suggests, look at 2 Samuel chapter 9, verse 8. I think there's something else Graham says here also. Jesus is making new precedents in Mark 10. He starts with the servant. buffing the centurion, expanding the borders of his ministry to those watching, those wishing
to
to receive. Yes, completely. Because his heart was set already, as Grog was saying. He was already with the intention of reach out the the Gentiles and the whole world. Whoever comes with an attitude of receiving will receive. Yeah, gently will receive. Oh gosh, I say thank you very much, guys. Amen.
Amen.
You're welcome.
Let's
Yeah,
pray.
Grog, that's it. Thank you ever so much. Davi also, I know he was studying, but thank you for stopping and sharing your time with us.
Mm.
We appreciate. Amen.
Thanks. It's
Amen.
good to talk.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Okay, let's send one more comment here. Graham said before we finish, he shows
Oh, she's in there.
your favorite Martin. Okay, send chapter 2, the lost sheep. The woman shows that the position of the Jews is Gentile. Yeah, Hillary,
Yeah.
correct. Correct.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Amen.
that's true.
All right. Grog, God bless. Davi, God bless. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Goodbye.
Favor.
See
Yes.
you-
Goodbye.
see you Thursday.
And guys, I was just want to pray here and thank you for being with us. I hope that our just sharing the Bible here, comments and unpacking, and thank you, Grog, for your whole your effort. Or Peter Wilkes also helped with some of the pictures as in the background as you saw. So we all together we can make things better. Love you guys. It's been good to be together. And shall we finish with this? Yeah, we finish here. Amen. God bless.